Now, given that With Love Meghan Season 2 is going throughout numerous setbacks, and of course this is all happening in the middle of reshoots, we know that there's a lot of problematic situations arising, all due to Meghan Markle getting caught in multiple acts of plagiarism and copying other people's work. We already talked about this, about how she copied Gordon Ramsay's shows, Next Level Chef, Top Chef, and even Pamela Anderson's Cooking with Love show, Rachel Ray's actual cooking show as well. A lot of elements from those programs were shoehorned into With Love Meghan Season 2, and it really went under Netflix's nose. They didn't really see anything that was going on for the longest time, just until recently when they kickstarted that investigation. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Meghan Markle is that we know that she is in desperate times right now, right? We know that a lot of studios are turning their backs against her. They want nothing to do with her ever again, or at all to begin with in certain instances, but we already know that Meghan Markle is getting into a lot of trouble over at Netflix. We know that Ted Sarandos, even though he is still supporting her, he's beginning to show some cracks. He's beginning to show some levels of frustration with her after she was found, copying others' work and creating a lot more problems than Netflix really has to deal with right now in the very beginning of July of 25. However, what's interesting about all of this is that we already know one thing about this series, is that it is destined to be a bigger ratings disaster than the first part, and that's exactly what's really freaking out Netflix at this point, because they can't really afford another ratings disaster. Interestingly enough, though, with Meghan Markle getting caught in multiple acts of plagiarism over the past several weeks by Netflix, one significant development that is now active involves more to do with Meghan Markle going on yet another tirade after her viral video Backlash, and all of the other issues going on over at Netflix combined. Meghan recently delivered the following: "As a woman, and especially a woman of color, I think there comes a time when you have to speak up and protect all of the great communities in this world. And things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, along with those members of the LGBTQ community that are finding a very hard time getting into this industry, we are dealing with a rise in the toxic male demographic that likes to put a stigma on those coming from LGBTQ and those that support and value DEI. And shame on them, and how dare they say such things that only contribute to something better to society. But it's not just the public to blame. We are also dealing with the very toxic governments right now that are beginning to abolish DEI. It's only making this industry more divided, and it's disheartening to see it happen so quickly, so rapidly. I just don't see a future where anyone can become an actress anymore. It's going to be a very difficult and upward battle to get to where you want to go in this industry, after all of the hardships that they have been pressing on us. I am more than thankful for my program, With Love Meghan, that will also teach valuable lessons about the importance of LGBTQ, and on my podcast as well, that allows me to share my voice around the world and to change people's lives. It's an awful situation that we are in right now in 2025, now that LGBTQ and DEI is viewed as something that tarnishes society. In reality, take a look closer and it only brings us all together. I am all about fairness in this very difficult industry, and also women deserve better treatment, especially women of color. It's about time our voices are heard on a mainstream level and not just limited to social media or any other platform at that. In Season 2 of my series, you are going to witness how we honor LGBTQ with some surprise guests and what stories they have to tell while we cook amazing food. Now guys, let me say one thing about this again. Now, again, she's confirming that some of the cameos on With Love Meghan Season 2 are going to be a part of the LGBTQ community, and we all know that this is a part of a typical agenda that was shoehorned in by Netflix, alright? We all know that. And look, we know that a lot of these studios are going to continue to put an effort into doing this at all costs available. That's why you have some resistance there, really trying to just push the typical messaging, the typical agenda above an actual story. But there really is no story to begin with when it comes to a story, or a actual show, I should say, focusing on With Love Meghan as a series. There's really no story there anyway to begin with. But interestingly enough, yet again, She's going on this constant trope about LGBTQ this and DEI that. It's also tiresome and exhausting. We've heard it from so many people, so many in the industry, whether it's higher-ups in the studios or actors and actresses that represent those studios. Doesn't matter, they all have the same exact arguments, they all parrot each other, and Meghan Markle is no different in this case, because she's also pointing the finger at toxic demographics, toxic male demographics, toxic masculinity. And look, we all know that this is something that you would say more so like back in like 2019 is where it hit peak levels, where you had a lot of celebrities saying this kind of stuff, but they're really trying hard to keep those arguments in play. Now, moving onwards here, this is where it gets even worse, is that especially, she says, after getting rejected over and over, we need to evolve, not devolve, as a society. And our goal for Season 2 is to change lives and to steer away from toxic communities and toxic demographics that contribute nothing to society. It's time that we focus on all of that to make a difference. And again, shame on the men and even the women that divide us further by supporting those very same toxic communities. We have to make a difference, and that's what I hope Season 2 will be able to offer. We have some very surprise cameos that honor LGBTQ, and it's going to change the world. We must not listen to toxicity coming from certain men and women that don't really offer anything beneficial to our beautiful world. Now, guys, let me say one thing about that. That was a great bowl of word salad there. But it was also a bowl of word salad that had a mixture of, insane comments and statements on top. Because, look, we know that Meghan Markle is really trying to, pander to LGBTQ communities just for the sake of doing so. Just for the sake of doing something like that in the show for Season 2. Now, look, we already know that this season is going to be a disaster. We already know as well that with Love Meghan Season 2 is going to be by far one of the biggest ratings disasters for Netflix. And if I were Ted Sarandos, if I were Greg Peters, for example, I would absolutely say, let's get rid of this thing, let's cancel this thing outright, let's prevent us from getting embarrassed by the general public, and really put this in the lock, right? Put this in the vault and just lock it away and never have it be seen again. And that's what they should do, because in reality, look, they really did this in a way where Season 2 wasn't really a Season 2, it's really just Season 1 Part 2. All 16 episodes were shot at once, but they are doing reshoots to expand the running time of those episodes, to be very clear. And those reshoots are going to stretch now until the end of July, due to all the setbacks and the troubles they've been having, due to Meghan Markle getting caught in all these acts of copying others, and that's just the beginning of the story. But again, we know that this overall series, it sounds like it's going to be more focused on agenda and messaging than Season 1 ever was. And I think it's going to make it laughable. I think it's really going to make Netflix as a studio look very, like an uncredible studio. When you look at them now, the fact that they're raising prices, the fact that they're removing content at the same exact time, and putting abysmal material on afterwards, and still raising prices. They even have plans to bump up subscription plans by Q4 of 2025, just to really fill you in on that. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this Meghan Markle situation below in the comments, and her constant, exhausting tirade, and everything else in between. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.